I'm Sean Michael Small, and we are WESN, the Content Capital.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm not to do with that.
And I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of this game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Are you driven, ambitious, and ready to earn? WESN, the content capital, is expanding, and we're looking for dynamic media sales executives to join our team. Sell powerful advertising solutions across television, digital, and social media platforms, and help brands tell their story. If you have strong communication skills, a passion for sales, and the drive to succeed, join WESN today. Send your CV to marketing at wesncc.com or WhatsApp 68-61662 and start building your future.
WESN.
Good morning and welcome to AM Prime on WESN. I am Takia Thompson, and today is Wildlife Wednesday. So we're kicking this morning off with our Wildlife Spotlight segment. Hidden within Trinidad and Tobago's forest lives a rarely seen predator, the ocelot. Today, we take a closer look at efforts by the Trinidad and Tobago Ocelot Project to monitor and protect this elusive species with wildlife ecologist, field lead for Trinidad and Tobago Ocelots, Zach Ali. Good morning, Zach. Good morning. And you're doing good this morning, I presume?
Good. With the weekends, expeditions has worn me out, so resting this week for sure.
That's important. That's very important. And just to, you know, bring it back, because we touched on this a bit last week, so I'm glad that we're actually getting to expand on it. Yeah. And for viewers who may not be familiar, what exactly is an ocelot and where can it be found in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, an ocelot is a medium-sized cat in the world of wild cats, and it's our only cat on Trinidad, wild cat, that naturally occurs, and also throughout the Caribbean. We are the only island with a population of ocelots. They're about the size of a dog. And what's special about Trinidad ocelots is that they serve as the top predator for our ecosystems, whereas in other places, such as South America, they'll have to compete with jaguars, pumas, and other cats. They can be found in basically any kind of forest. They'll move through secondary growth forests and farmland, but primary forest, northern range, central range, southern watershed, all good places to find them. Very rarely seen, however.
Wow. And what are some of Trinidad and Tobago ocelot project key findings or milestones so far?
Well, we are in the initial stages of it, and we have camera traps out in Chaguaramas. But so far, over the past couple of years of camera trapping with our partners, we've gotten a lot of ocelots, especially in the northern range. Like, for density, they are doing okay, I would say, in the primary forests of the northern range. But in other places, they need help. And so one of the places is Chaguaramas. We have camera traps up there, and so we actually have to pick them up in July to see what is the findings.
So I'm hearing you mention, you know, the camera traps. So can you explain to the viewers what exactly is and how the camera traps work when, you know, being a part of this process?
So the camera trap is basically a small box with a 5-megapixel camera and a passive infrared sensor. So what that means is it detects any change in temperature, ambient temperature. So it will not pick up snakes or anything, but like birds, mammals, warm-blooded stuff, difference in temperature compared to the ambient temperature will pick up. So ocelots, deer, agouti, all of the wildlife of the forest, humans even.
That's actually cool.
Yeah.
And have you noticed any patterns in ocelot behavior or movement so far?
Thus far, they're quite tricky to camera trap, I must say, and it's like winning the lotto. You have to put your odds in your favor. You might pick a ridge line or like a gully or a stream bed. Right. But so far I've noticed that they like the ridge lines and they'll walk along the ridge line more often. You look for like prey signs and mouse signs, but mostly like if you find a good feeding tree, like balata or any kind of fruit, stuff will be feeding on it, and they'll come and prey on the small rats and so on. Yeah.
So you mentioned balata feeding tree. What are some of the other trees that may attract these species?
Some of the other trees might be like crapo. Some actually around farmers and around farming areas will have a lot more mouse and prey species feeding on like the cassava and stuff. So compared to the general forest and primary forest, you'll have a lot more ocelots around like semi-disturbed areas, and sometimes we have conflict with farmers and chickens.
Right.
Almost a lot of all the rural villages we hear about chickens being attacked on by ocelots, and sometimes that's a human-animal conflict that we must manage somehow because people, you know, justifiably are angry at the ocelot feasting their chickens.
Yes, definitely. In February, there was an incident where an ocelot was shot. It was taken into the Laramine Veterinary Clinic for treatment. And before I get into that, we do have a clip for you guys, so take a look at this video.
We're here with Dr. Kriyan Singh and Papa Ute. Papa Ute is a young ocelot who was found earlier this week with a gunshot injury. Now, in Trinidad, harming an ocelot is illegal and punishable by a fine of up to $100,000 and up to 2 years in prison. He's estimated to be around 2 years old, and he's currently under the care of Dr. Kriyan Singh. Based on his current assessment, Papa Ute is stable and he's responding to treatment, but only further tests will determine what his recovery timeline looks like.
It was both incredible and heartbreaking to see him in this condition. They're such powerful, amazing, beautiful animals. It's hard to imagine anyone wanting to do them any harm. But for me, what stood out the most was actually the response. The response from the authorities, from Dr. Kriyan, from his team, and all of the people who are rallying behind this case. I think it shows that there are far more people out there who want to see these animals safe and protected back out in the wild where they belong. And keep you updated as we can as it goes along. In the meantime, you can follow Dr. Singh, who posts regular updates about Papute on Facebook, and also follow our page if you want to learn more about ocelots and the work we're doing in Trinidad to help protect them.
Wow, just wow. So the question right away is, do you have an update on the ocelot's recovery process?
So far, we went last week. I think the day after, Thursday, we went Thursday. And the ocelot is doing well. He's able to hold up himself at least.
Right.
And like, they offer him semi-alive prey, so they kind of stun the rat and give him it, and he eats it.
Okay.
So he has mobility, somewhat mobility in his back legs. They put him on a treadmill, and they also do watch therapy. So he's in good hands, but he cannot be released because of, you know, the contact he's had with humans and everything. But he also serves right now as an ambassador for ocelots in Trinidad, and it reflects. Like in the gallery, in the Rotunda Gallery, you see a lot of art named after Papa Ute, and I'm pretty much inspired by that and happy that children look up to that.
Yeah.
But he also serves for science, and we took DNA from him so we can sequence the genome, because we have not had an idea of our ocelots in Trinidad and how special they are, if they could be a specific species or anything, because they are different. When you look at them, they have black noses compared to the South American ones, which have the pink noses.
And you mentioned not being able to release him because, you know, he's been around human. Can you just expand on that a bit more in terms of not sending them back out based on their human interaction?
So based on the human interaction, he'll probably come in contact with humans again because of how close he is with the vet, which is a necessity to treat him.
Yeah.
But based on his injury alone, he probably won't ever gain full mobility to hunt. He needs to be in perfect condition to go back. And it's pretty unfortunate that he was shot, but, you know, we have to look at the good, and he's serving as a great ambassador for now. Yeah.
That's so good that you all could have repurposed this entire thing, and it draws me to my next question, which would be like, what is some of the biggest threats facing ocelots in Trinidad and Tobago today?
Some of the direct threats facing them would be direct killings of them. For like, hunters would see them and shoot them because they say, you know, they're eating their agouti or lap food species. But these are the animals' prey, and they naturally feed on it. So other than hunters shooting it either by mistake or spite, there's human-animal conflict with chickens and chicken coops, and also the destruction of habitat and corridors. So, for example, the Aripo Highway, the new highway below Aripo Savannas, that may cut off some corridors that the ocelots would have used to come from the northern range, central range, southern range, and keep the genetic continuity, which is especially important on an island.
And how would you say, like you mentioned, you know, human activity, but also deforestation and the hunting impact the ocelot survival?
Pretty negative, you know. I mentioned that small-scale farming and sustainable farming may generate a small bump in biodiversity on forest edges, but the direct cutting of forests for timber or highways is a direct consequence, you know. The ocelot cannot survive with that, for sure.
Wow. So what is the next step for the project?
The next step for the project, we have to pick up the camera traps, and then we are moving to Brasso Seco, which is in the central, well, in the center of the northern range, above Arima, and it's proper forest.
Wow.
It's unique, and I love it, and we're going to do a next workshop, and also we're going to look to do trainings to capture ocelots and put a radio collar on it to track its movements specifically. So that'll be the first time in Trinidad it's been done, and we look forward to doing that. And also filming these ocelots. Yeah.
That is such a great way to go about it. And just for viewers looking on, how has the experience, you know, changed your view on things and even impacted your day-to-day life?
I've definitely seen the positives in people wanting to conserve the ocelot, and a lot of people have a lot of positive comments on Papa Ute, and they're hopeful that it'll survive. But ethically, people abroad are, you know, the injury is too bad and they want to, you know, euthanize it. But for the purposes that Papa Ute serves, it's the good outweighs the bad. And doing the research and doing the conservation work with people, working with the community is really the reward, because you get to see the people who live around the ocelot, and sometimes it's really positive. They really like having ocelots around.
And is there a fine for killing these animals?
There is a fine for, it's like 100,000 and 2 years in prison if you are found with any derivative of an ocelot, be it the skin, a dead individual, and also, destroy any habitat illegally without clearance is probable to that fine.
Wow. And I mean, knowing this, and we still have hunters on the ground still, doing it, like you said, whether out of spite or just, being a part of that food chain, it really puts things into perspective. But also, how has the experience itself, because we were talking about how when you go out in the field, you go out for a few days and you pack a bunch of gear. Can you just share more on that and the whole process of it?
I would say it's physically demanding, for sure. But I like the process of setting camera traps and going out in the field and looking for like a proper spot.
Yeah.
Half of the time we set in points on the map to go to, and you don't know if it's a ridge or a river you had to cross, and you're sliding down that ridge, climbing up, whatever, to set out these camera traps. And it's really good when you go back and you say, okay, well, I was right, we got ocelots. Or sometimes it's not really good, you have to reset the camera and look for a better spot. So I love that part of it, going out in the field and looking for these ocelots. Well, in a kind of way. You're putting the camera traps out with hopes of getting them. But I've never seen an ocelot alive in Trinidad yet, in the wild.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm doing all of the research. I've seen it in Guyana, but that's South America, Amazon,
Wow. So I can just imagine how it would be to capture that moment when you actually get to see the ocelot. And my last and final questions to the viewers looking on, what is a message that you'd like them to take away from this conversation today?
I would like them to understand that we are not apart from nature and our impact on the environment, whether it be littering, pollution, it has an impact on the top predators. And for example, like bacon shark, that's not a good culture that we have, for sure. And so we need to respect the top predators in our habitat, be it the ocean or the forest, because they control the ecosystems and we depend on it. And so it's to think of ourselves as a part of nature, not separate. We are a part of nature. We have to go into the system and give back to it. Plant a tree, pick up garbage, that kind of thing.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing on this. Any other final shares or notes you'd like to leave with us, as we close off this part of it?
Not really, but ocelots are special to Trinidad, and I look forward to speaking more when we get results from the project.
Yes. So it is something that we definitely will be following up on, and keep us updated with how things go. Guys, as he pretty much explained it, conservation is not just for scientists, it's for everyone. It's for everyone, wanting to have that change in mindsets and just do better, because we're here a part of the ecosystem. We're about to take a short break, and when we come back, we do have more engaging conversations, so stay with us.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios, but they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks. They deserve Benjamin Moore.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movie Town, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
there are limitations in all the healthcare sectors,
Correct.
not just this country,
Yes.
where the numbers will surpass the amount of doctors and nurses to provide that quality care. We're talking about holding a patient's hand, giving them the support, the emotional support that they need, advice. That gap, you are providing that pivotal gap, so that really makes you stand out from all other NGOs as far as my experience goes.
Yes, I actually go into the homes also of the patient.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Welcome back, and continuing in our Wildlife Spotlight segment, we shed light on some of Trinidad and Tobago's often overlooked wildlife species. In some cases, we tend to misunderstand or simply forget about some of our local wildlife. Animal welfare activist Esfeld Duncan from the NGO Venus Doggess of Love is sharing her experience rescuing injured wildlife and the lessons she learned about proper care and rehabilitation. Good morning, Ms. Duncan.
Good morning.
And how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
So we're going to jump straight away right into it. Can you tell us about Venus Doggess of Love and what inspired you to start this initiative?
Venus Doggess of Love is a Tobago-based NGO that I founded in, well, we incorporated it in 2019, but prior to that, I and others who helped me were doing a lot of animal rescue. And currently in Tobago, we rescue mainly dogs and cats. But on occasion, there would be the odd animal that might be considered more wild, like a bat, a pelican, any kind of seabirds, the kind of things that we see a lot in the Tobago environment.
Yeah. And what would you say is your main focus when it comes to animal rescue?
Mainly dogs and cats, but mainly dogs, because I mean street dogs are very common. Street and beach dogs that are homeless are very common in Tobago. And also dogs that are underprivileged. We help a lot of underprivileged dogs who may belong to owners who can't necessarily take care of them. Or, in terms of food, vet care, that kind of thing. Financially, it's very expensive. It can be expensive.
Yeah.
To own a pet if you're going to take good care of it.
And we often hear about, these Scarlet ibis, turtles, red howler monkeys, other mammals and marine life, but much less about animals like bats and pelicans. Why do you think these species are often overlooked?
Well, I think bats are overlooked, if that's the word. I think a lot of people don't want to engage with bats because they're afraid of them, stereotypical feelings about it, like vampire movies and stuff. A bat is not an animal that people find approachable or something that they want to necessarily touch, just like most people probably wouldn't want to touch a frog. And in terms of pelicans and bats are also more or less unreachable because obviously they're in a different element than we are. We are on land and they're in the sky, so it's not that we access them as easily as we would a dog or a cat unless they were injured.
And you see, animal cruelty, it just goes beyond just dogs and cats. And you've mentioned prior to the interview that you rescued a bat. Can you share your experience with us in terms of what had happened and how or where were you able to carry it for this rescue, and what was the recovery process like?
Well, I've rescued several bats, baby fruit bats, for the simple reason that there's a little roost in one of the corners of the eaves, the outdoor eaves of the house, where there's a small bat colony, and sometimes the babies drop. And either I find them or my dogs find them. Thankfully, my dogs don't kill them. They more or less bring them to me. And, well, I've cared for them on my own, but after getting advice from people who know about wildlife, like Detta Bush is somebody that I contact on occasion. She is Wildlife Orphanage and Rehabilitation Center, and also Ricardo Mead of the El Socorro Wildlife Center. Both of them have been very helpful in guidance. In the terms of the bats, I contacted as well Jeffrey Gomes, who's he's the Facebook page Trini Bats. He is involved with that page. So he gave a lot of helpful advice. The bat that you're seeing in the video here is one that I named Pocket, because I used to carry him around in my pocket to keep him warm, because the baby bat is usually attached to the mother's belly. The mother flies around with the bat until it's a certain age. So they're accustomed to that warmth. They're very, they call them pups, bat pups. And you can tell why, because they have if you look at them closely, the face is like a little puppy. That's my dog Venus in the background.
Yes.
They're like little puppies, they're very cute. So it's a pity that a lot of people are afraid of them. They're very responsive. They make a little clicking noise, and so if I make that noise, he would climb up my t-shirt to get closer to the noise. Very, very sweet. But how I eventually returned him to the mother is that I placed him outdoors. So what you're seeing here in the footage is what I did incorrectly at first. I put a blanket on a tree, and I put him on the blanket because the mother, which you can see hovering around, the mother comes and picks up the baby. Oops, sorry, my dog's making noise. I don't know if you can hear it. Hold on. Yeah, the mother picks up the baby bat and flies away with him. So it was difficult for her to land on the branches, but you see her attempting to do it there. Later on in this particular video clip, I put the baby bat on the ground, and you see the mother swooping back and forth. And after a while, she landed on him. And after about a minute, where she just looked like she was kind of squirming around on the ground, but that was to give the baby bat enough time to attach to her.
Wow.
Then she just lifted off and flew away with him, which was amazing. And I was so glad I captured it on camera. Jeffrey Gomes, who I mentioned earlier, at the time he said, that's actually a rare thing to capture.
Yes,
but
it is.
It's very useful for people to know. If you find a baby bat, once it's not in danger, once you don't have dogs or cats that are going to attack it, in the evening, leave it out on a flat piece of ground, and the mother is going to hear it. They make these clicking noises, and bats have very good hearing.
Right.
The mother will hear the clicking, and she'll come and take the bat.
Wow. Yes, wow. I can just imagine.
I don't think the footage has shown that part, but it's quite a fascinating thing to see.
Yeah, it definitely was. The footage did capture the mother flying off with it. But in the first clip, I'm curious to know, what were you feeding, Pocket? What was the...
I was feeding him sapodilla, which I chewed it up. I chewed it up first, and then I put it on a spoon, and then he would eat it from the spoon. He wasn't so fond of pawpaw, what else did I try him with? Mango.
Ooh.
They were kind of nibble at it, but I found I was most successful with the sapodilla.
Okay, nice. And what would you say is some of the common misconceptions people have about these wildlife animals?
About all wildlife?
Yeah. And particularly in terms of like the bats, the pelicans, dogs, cats, a part of that entire thing, yeah.
Right. Okay, well, the unfortunate thing is that in Trinidad and Tobago, when you hear the word wild animals, the first thing a lot of people say is, oh God, they want to put it in their pot. And I think that is the main misconception. Hunting. Now, I know a lot of people say, what's wrong with hunting? But personally, I am not a fan of hunting. I don't eat meat.
Right.
But apart from that, I think, the wild animals are here in their territory, enjoying their territory. Along comes mankind. Now, I mean, I know in the old days, people used to hunt, but it was a responsible hunting, where that was what they had to eat. Here, I think, I don't know any hunters personally, but I think that it should not be viewed as just a game sport where you go out and shoot animals. And you see, now we have a lot of, you pass by a blackboard outside of a little restaurant and you see a list, agouti, manikou, iguana, just a list of wild animals. And personally, I find that distressing. I think wild animals need to be left in their territory. That's my personal view.
Yeah.
I know everybody doesn't hold that view, and I know that hunting will probably never be banned, but I think that, even when hunting season is closed, you still see people going out with their guns and stuff. So that, I would say, is the biggest. You asked about misconceptions. I know that's not a misconception, but I think that's something that we need to get more of a hold on in Trinidad and Tobago, hunting.
Yeah.
Indiscriminate hunting. And the shooting of animals that like this ocelot that Dr. Kriyan Singh is now rehabilitating that was shot. Things like that, you get animals that are endangered being just, soon they'll be wiped off the map if hunting is so indiscriminate and not really caring about these species.
Yeah, definitely. And you also made mention about rescuing a pelican. What was that experience like?
I enjoyed that experience. I got a call from some people who were staying at Turtle Beach that there was an injured pelican near the pool. There were some visitors from Norway. And I went to collect the pelican. We got him into a dog crate. I brought him her. Well, I think it was a her. We called her Mia.
Oh.
And something was wrong with her wing. She had probably gotten caught in a fishing net or something.
Yeah.
And I had her for about 9 days, feeding her. She was a very expensive pelican. She didn't want to eat the bait fish, which I could get for free from the fisherman's nets.
Right.
She wanted redfish, which was like, I can't remember how much it was at the time, but it was adding up to be pretty expensive to feed her. And so people donated for me to purchase the redfish.
Right.
And as the days went by, she would flap and like she was strengthening her wings. I think she just needed hydration and food because she'd probably been injured for quite a while and couldn't fish. And after she got that nourishment, one day the interesting thing is that the little girl and her family, before they went back to Norway, they came to visit me and the pelican. And it's as if the pelican was waiting on that moment. And as soon as they left, she flew up and she just flew away.
Wow.
She circled the neighborhood and then she came back flying directly over the house. I was watching her and she just flew directly over me as if to say, thank you for helping me. And she went on her way.
Wow.
So I think that's another thing, that people look at these wild animals as just wild or something scary or something too far away, in the sense that it's not like a dog or cat that you could just hold on to.
Yeah.
Or they look at it as something to eat. But these are animals that also have feelings. I mean, the bat, they know that you're helping them. They know that, and I'm sure Ricardo and Detta and all of these people who deal with wildlife much more than I do. I mean, I'm no expert on wildlife. I'm pretty much just an animal lover who, when these animals land in my path and they're injured, I do what I can to help them.
Yes.
But on that note, let me say something important, that sometimes people find baby birds that have dropped out of their nest and they think, oh my gosh, this bird, I have to rescue it. But one piece of advice I got from Detta is when you see a bird on the ground, a baby, unless it looks severely injured or unless it's in danger of being attacked by a dog or a cat, leave it there, because most likely it's a fledgling that's learning to fly.
Right.
And the parents are around, the parents are looking at it, and the parents will come and feed it.
Oh, wow. And that is a great point that you highlighted. And even when judging with your experience, what should someone do if they do find an injured wildlife animal that they are not too familiar with?
Well, they can call Ricardo Mead. Unfortunately, I should have written down his number so that I could share it with people, but you can Google it. You can look him up on Facebook, Ricardo Mead, El Socorro Wildlife. El Socorro Wildlife, you'll find them on Facebook. He's a great resource. You can send him a picture of the animal. If you don't know what it is, you can say, what is this? He might advise you on how you can help it. Now, for me in Tobago, I can't just take it to him. I mean, we have sent certain birds to him, injured birds. But in Trinidad, you can easily somebody can come and collect the animal from you. I would advise just keep it safe, keep it in a safe place.
Yeah.
Sometimes they like darkness, so they're not startled by the light and different movements. They're not accustomed to humans. So just keep them safe, comfortable. Call somebody who knows about them and ensure that they're helped. And most importantly, don't be scared of them.
Yeah, definitely. I think for most cases, persons are normally so afraid that even when they try to help, because of that fear, it always tends to do more harm than good at times. So it's really good that you brought that across as well. So when would you say it's an appropriate time to intervene, and when is it better to just leave the animal alone? Because you mentioned the baby bird being out. So how do we make note of these things to just know?
Well, I would only intervene if I think an animal looks injured. To me, that's the first step in helping anything, whether it's an animal or a person, any living creature. Once you recognize this creature is in some kind of distress, how can I help? That's the first question I would ask. How can I help? And that you to have that desire or compulsion to assist this animal, even if you don't know, the first step is, okay, this animal looks injured. I don't know what to do. Let me call somebody who's into wildlife rescue, such as Ricardo. I mean, there are tons of other people doing wildlife, but I'm just saying Ricardo because he's who I would normally think of first.
Right. And do you think there's enough public education about wildlife rescue in Trinidad and Tobago?
No, I don't think there's enough on wildlife rescue or any kind of rescue. And I think this is something that should be on the school syllabus.
Right.
Children in schools, especially starting at primary school, to learn about animal welfare, whether it's domestic animals or wild animals. Not just how to take care of them on paper, but, have a little field trip, go out, feed some stray dogs, learn about, okay, how do we help a dog that's out there on the street? What do we do? Take children through these steps from a very early age, and we need to raise a culture of citizens who care about animals. I think one of the main problems in Trinidad is, yes, you have a lot of people who like animals, and people say, well, I'm a dog lover, but they may mean, well, I have an Alsatian or some kind of dog at home that they like because it's their dog. But to actually say, I'm going to extend that love for animals to this suffering dog on the street. How can I help this dog?
Yeah.
This dog that has had 10 litters of puppies. How can I help this dog? You know, somebody could say, look, let me sponsor a spay for this dog, or stuff like that. You know, to just, we need education that shows our society we need to put animals more to the forefront.
Yeah,
definitely. And not just for our personal animals. I'm talking about animals widely speaking. And yes, that includes wildlife.
Yes.
And the knowledge that, okay, I feel for people who eat meat, okay, do I really need to eat this iguana? Do I really need to, this peaceful iguana, this peaceful, beautiful iguana just lounging on his tree, enjoying life?
Yeah.
To hear that pack of the hunter's gun, and then you want to eat it.
Wow.
I think, I mean, I know a lot of people listening to this probably eat it, and that's fine. Everybody makes their choice, but let's not overdo it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you just share with, you know, the viewers, what are some of the animals that you think are forgotten or just used in the wrong scope of things, like you mentioned?
Oh, what animals are forgotten? Well, if you're talking about wildlife, in a way, they're all forgotten. They're not, in the sense that they're not top of mind unless people are directly involved with them. People who are involved in wildlife conservation and who will be like, well, I'm concerned about the turtles, I'm focused on the ocelot, I'm focused on the parrot. There are people who are into it, but for those who are not into it, it's not something that's at the top of the mind, again, unless it's on a menu. And I hate to keep stressing that, but it's what comes to mind in this conversation. I think let's be, for anything to not be forgotten, and that could be wild animals, it could be domestic animals, it could be even people, because a lot of people are also forgotten. Sometimes as human beings might even forget themselves. They might be so busy out there doing, and they forget to take care of themselves. And I think one of the first things in life is to take good care of yourself.
Yeah.
And your immediate people around you and your immediate animals, and then extend outwards to always have that focus on how can I help? How can I make this situation better? How can I help this other living being to feel better? Even if it's a plant, you see a wilting plant, we're now in dry season. A lot of plants are wilting. Can I give this plant water? But of course, it's only if the person has water, if water has been good to them,
right,
that they can water the plant. And furthermore, are they even giving water to their dogs? Which is another thing. We cannot, a lot of people may forget their dog. People who chain their dogs maybe at the back of the house, which we see a lot in animal rescue.
Yeah.
And especially in dry season, it's like, does this dog have water? Simple things like that we should not forget.
Definitely.
Don't forget to put water out for the birds and insects who also require water during dry season, and wet season as well.
Yeah. And is there anywhere or any organization that works along with marine animals in Tobago?
Well, I don't know all the organizations, but SOS, which is they tend to turtles, like the leatherbacks, and they keep a record of the turtles around the island. There's also Species, SPESEAS. They also work a lot with ocean, and but they're not based in Tobago, but one of their contacts, like Michelle Casabon-Manette, I call her often, and she connects me with relevant parties such as SOS in Tobago, if needed.
And even though it may not be that well known, what roles do you say, well, would you say these animals play a part of the ecosystem?
Which animals?
The wildlife ones.
Well, every animal has its function, different functions. bats, bats may eat insects or mosquitoes, like people might say, oh my gosh, let me get rid of these bats. But what you don't understand is that they may eat insects, they pollinate. So all of these fruit trees and flowers and stuff that we see growing around, whether it's bats or butterflies, pollinating animals, pollinators, it's because of them that we have all of that growth. That's one function. Everything has its function. Yeah. Everything has its function. And I think that's another way in which we can appreciate them. It's like people may see something as a pest. They may see the cocorico, for example, as a pest because it's eating their crops. But maybe we need to look deeper and see, well, what's their purpose other than being the national bird. Personally, maybe that's something I need to go and think about as well. But everything has a purpose. Nothing is coming to mind right now to explain it further to you.
That's fine. And what is one thing you'd like the viewers to take away from this conversation that we're having?
Be kind to all animals. It doesn't matter what it is, be kind to it. If you see a snake and it's not bothering you, don't rush out there and chop it. It's not going to, unless, a lot of the time, these wild animals are more afraid of us than we are of them. When I say we, I mean like people in general. And it's just to remember, we are sharing the planet with them.
Yeah.
Be kind to them. Help them when you can. Reach out for the appropriate assistance if you don't know what to do. Don't try and give them any human products, like you might see an animal and think it's in pain and give it a human painkiller for humans, but it may not be appropriate for the animals. So find out what to do before you try to administer any kind of medication. Just basic common sense, I would hope.
Thank you so much, Ms. Duncan, for being here and being a part of this conversation. It's really important that we shed light to the animals that may be overlooked or even small in nature. But like you said, each animal has its function and they has their role to play a part of the ecosystem. And even though sometimes the ones that we don't talk about are the ones that actually need our attention and need to be bring into the public's eye. So thank you so much this morning for, being a part of this conversation. Guys, we are about to, definitely. We're about to take another short break, and when we come back, we do have more engaging conversations, so don't go far.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movie Town, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Welcome back. And for our last segment, Eco Hero feature, we explore our creative approach to environmental and wildlife awareness, where storytelling meets conservation. Local wildlife is featured and highlighted in various ways in our country, and one of those ways is through theatre. Playwrights Workshop Trinbago uses the power of short theatrical performances as a means to promote appreciation for Trinidad and Tobago's wildlife. Through drama, humor, and emotion, they bring important environmental messages that is both engaging and educational. Local director and writer Marvin Ishmael joins us this morning to be a part of the conversation. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely having you here with us. So we're going to jump right in. Can you tell us a bit about Playwrights Workshop Trinbago and what it covers?
Well, Playwrights Workshop Trinbago was first started by Tony Hall, who's he's deceased, but he's one of our foremost directors, writers, and theatre instructors. And the aim and objective at the time was to give voice to new playwrights and to allow them to have a safe space in which their work could be shared, in which feedback could be given, and just a space in which playwrights feel comfortable in sharing their work to their peers and also seeing what could happen next in terms of the growth of that script that they have. It's now being run by Safar Ali, and I'm there as a sort of the artistic director in terms of what they plan to do eventually during the season.
Yes. And you've mentioned previously that writers are encouraged to send their scripts for monthly readers' theatre theories. So what is that, and how do readers and the audience gain insights from this?
The aim and objective is to present a new play every month.
Yeah.
And so you're providing a platform for new voices. And I think that that's really important within our society, because, as you know, our art and our culture reflects who we are as a people. And so if we don't have our young people being a part of that process of voice, of conservation, of entertainment, of looking at issues, at looking at things that affect you and I as Trinidadians, then we're missing a step. And so the Playwrights Trinbago affords that opportunity for voices to be heard in a, like again, I said, in a safe environment where they're getting feedback from their peers, getting feedback from some professionals in terms of how did that particular work sit with me? What do I think worked about it? What's about the structure, the characterization, the events within it? So we look at all those things as an audience member in those particular situations, give feedback to the playwright. The playwright can then go back with a mentor or a dramaturgy and go over the script, decide for him or herself what they can take away from the session, and continue working on that piece until we think it's at the next level, where they can then do a sort of a dramatic reading of it, with, again, more invited audiences. They get more feedback again in terms of the process of their writing, and hopefully it takes them to that other step where it's ready for a producer to say, okay, I really like that piece, let me produce it somewhere. And it doesn't have to be at Queen's Hall only, or at SAPA, at Napa. You know, we have some smaller spaces. People can be environmentally conscious of where we create theatre. And so I think Playwrights Workshop Trinbago affords us that first stepping stone in terms of getting our plays seen, read, heard, and then eventually on its feet.
Yeah, definitely. And you, in last year around December, Jury of Peers was one of the latest wildlife short plays that you covered. Can you elaborate on what it is about and how it came about?
Well, I think the playwright should be given all the credit for that particular piece.
Yeah.
There was, I think she said, there was a video going around of a crab stabbing someone, right? And she thought that so funny that this video of a crab taking a knife and stabbing the person who is about to have the crab for dinner should look at other issues besides that. Besides being a funny moment, it sort of prompted in her mind the problems that we have, not just about crabs, but about the mangrove system, about the ecosystem that supports the crabs. I guess overcrabbing, if there is such a word, and the right of crabs within a society, which reflects I mean, it was really smart because it reflects a deeper issue. It reflects an issue of people who sometimes are undervalued. And I think that's an important thing for writers and for audience members to have a look at. That even when we talk about the ecology and the ecosystem and wildlife, at the same time you could be talking about those issues, but underneath that, layering it, you can also look at other issues that affect society, especially here in Trinidad and Tobago. Because for me, jury appears when you have a crab that talks and says, you know, I saw this person, and this person took up my wife and took up my kids and put them in a bag and took one and threw it away because it was too small. And I was going, what, you can't do that to my family? You know, if we look through the eyes of the crab, you go, well, I could say that about my own family in terms of how does society look upon somebody who's just on the street trying to keep a living going and is forced to, you know, who do we prey on? So then again, it asks the industrial people, those with the power, the 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, how does your actions influence or curtail certain things in other people? And so for me, that was really smart in terms of the playwright, in terms of looking at the issue of the crabs, creating one character who has a Spanish accent, which again dealt with the Venezuelans who we have coming in because of situations that they themselves cannot overcome. And so they look for a way out, and the closest place is Trinidad. And so it was looking at a number of issues and still highlighting the plight of overcrabbing and what happens to the ecosystem when we run highways through the mangroves, when we build, when we don't allow that area. There's a bit of a buffer between the sea and our homes, you know. And of course, that's a big issue, because if you look at the hurricanes in the States, a part of the problem for the flooding and everything else is because they've taken away that buffer zone that the mangroves and the levees used to afford. So now the waves, when they come in, they're coming straight into the housing units. And that's a problem that should wake us up here in Trinidad and Tobago as well. As we look at our coastline and we look at the problems that we are facing everywhere where land is seeming to disappear, what are we doing about those issues? So it's a really relevant topic, but it's also something that I think playwrights generally are not dealing with, because we have so many issues. You have so many issues that affect us on a day-to-day basis that playwrights tend to look at those things. But we are saying at Playwrights Workshop in here in Trinidad and Tobago that maybe there is something else that you can start thinking about. So for our young writers, both in high school and at university, we have a little challenge for them. We are going to say to them, hey, you want to deal with conservation, you want to deal with wildlife, you want to deal with some of the problems that we are facing here within Trinidad and Tobago in terms of our forestry, in terms of our coastal environment, then we are going to challenge you to write a piece that we, and you can submit it to Playwrights Workshop TT on either Facebook or Instagram, because there's a link there, or you can send it at gmail.com. And then we will have a little competition, and we will afford the winner a little monetary prize, not a big thing, maybe $500 for for the piece, but more importantly, we will get your work read. And then we will have a series of scripts that we can look at wildlife, we can look at the ecology, we can look at things that are affecting us here in Trinidad and Tobago, and we can allow, which is the most important thing, allow young voices to be heard. Because, you know, although I love writing and I love being in culture, I am at the age where I think my life is, I've done a lot in my life. I've been fortunate to be on Broadway, I've been fortunate to tour the world, I've worked with Jamaica's Oliver Samuels, and we've had huge hits across North America. And so a lot of film, a lot of TV. So my work is kind of not done, because I think the next generation of artists, the next generation of writers and actors here need to have a little bit of mentorship. And so I'm here to provide that. But the next movement forward is from our younger people, the next generation. So what are your stories? What are the things that ignite your passion, your dreams? And therefore, you know, when you look at those issues that we've been chatting with here this morning and on the previous segment, what can you do about it? How can you put those stories in an entertaining and educating fashion for audiences who can kind of wake up and go, I didn't know this was a problem. I mean, when you think of the iguanas in Florida, you know, we laugh, right? Because it's so cold, they just kind of freeze and fall to the floor. And nobody eats them there. I mean, I guess we have no Trinidadians in Miami who are out hunting. But the problem that the last speaker was talking about, when you look at it, you go, there's a purpose for that iguana, you know. There's a purpose for that bat, there's a purpose for the butterfly, there's a purpose for the rivers and the streams. So we throw things into the river without even thinking. We're going, it's going to go down to the sea. But what is happening to the wildlife? Why do we have, when we have flooding, we have so much problems here when it rains? It's because we discard garbage without thinking. So we don't think about our system at all. And therefore we are urging our writers, come up with ideas and come up with plans. And you know, we have the perfect vehicle. We have certain folk characters here throughout the Caribbean that reflect the importance of the forest and the rivers. Mama Glow is a perfect example. So you can start writing with Mama Glow in mind, with Papa Boy in mind, with Lagahoo, because Lagahoo is our own kind of werewolf, right? He's part human, part this other thing. And therefore, if you're dealing with the forest and you're dealing with animals and you're dealing with the plights, well, here you have perfect vehicles to write your stories about. Because imagine coming and seeing Mama Glow telling you, what are you doing that for? You know what happened? You know, you have to pay for your sins, right? Right now, there's no recompense for our actions in Trinidad and Tobago. We just take it for granted that we throw the mattress in the river and somehow it goes down to the, and we don't care because we have gotten rid of our garbage. The plastics that we use, the beaches are dirty and filthy, and nobody thinks, well, like in Japan, maybe we can have those little machines that turn plastic into oil, turn it back into oil. And therefore you're cleaning up the environment along your beaches, but at the same time providing some sort of income for those people who live in those particular areas. So here, I think government and industry should work hand in hand together with our educators, together with our artists, and kind of going, we have problems and we have the answers in order to fix them. Because we do. You talk to the normal Trinidadian on the street, and they can come up with a number of solutions to problems that we face. Once they get into government, those ideas seem to dissipate or disappear. So it's not that all our ministers at one time, before they become ministers, they were just like you and me, right? A writer, an announcer, you know. We can think of many who are writers and announcers and everything else within our system. So they had the same ideas that you and I are talking about today. But somehow, that burden of government shifts focus from off the answers that the normal Trinidadian has. And we go, if we can see it as local people on the street, why don't you see it as the government people in charge of us? And so the environment is one of those things. How do we protect wildlife? How can we sustain in a small island like Trinidad and Tobago, and as we look for more land to plant and grow and build, how do we still keep our resources in check and for the next generation? Because if the Lord doesn't come soon and we still have planet Earth, it means it's our duty and responsibility to take care of planet Earth. And so as educators, we have to take care. How do we do that? Well, education is a really key component because, like I said, we have so many other things that are affecting us. The plight of women within society, how women are viewed, the struggles, domestic abuse. So writers tend to want to write about things that are affecting them because they see women not being held on the same level that they should.
Yes.
When you think that the UN had a statement out, I think last year, that over 840 million women during their lifetime have suffered sexual or physical abuse at the hands of a family member or an intimate partner. You go, my God, I didn't know that. When you go in the first half of 2025, 26 women in Trinidad and Tobago were murdered and killed under horrifying circumstances. You go, I didn't know that.
Right.
Because so many other issues we see in front of us that some of us champion certain things. And the same thing it is with wildlife and this subject. We need people to champion that. Because at the same time, while all these other issues are happening and people are championing those, we still need voices that can be heard for this particular issue.
And you touched on it a bit, so just to expand or even reiterate, the idea itself of using short plays as an advocacy tool for wildlife, how did that even come about to reach that point?
I don't think there are any new ideas in life.
Right.
As a writer, there are only 7 basic stories, and everything else is just how you move those pieces together, change the environment, change the characters, the antagonist, the protagonist, how do things, we start with a flashback, then we move forward, or you start in a linear fashion to tell your story. And so when we talk about these short pieces, and we're living in an age where TikTok and Instagram affords our new generation, our younger generation, the ability to tell stories in really short clips. So in 45 seconds, you can tell a story. So therefore, my challenge then is to tell stories about the environment. And therefore, how can we use these short plays to tell stories to start the conversation? Because I know that young people who are looking are saying, well, I can tell the story, but who's going to listen? But I think if we have these starting points, these conversations, then those who might have the authority would listen to them. Because in the long term, the government is for the people, by the people. Right? So those who in power, all our industrial estates that we have should be thinking, what do I do with our waste product? What do I do with the water that does whatever A, B, C, D, and E to the environment? How can I clean it? How can I fix it? If we're going to reopen Petrochin, which we hope is a great thing, a great idea, what do we do with our waste? What do we do with the sulfur that goes up in the air and all these other things that have been affecting the people who live in that region for years and years? The cement factory, we have it and we take it for granted that the cement just falls dust and your yard is covered with cement. So we don't think about what are our obligations as someone who runs a company in terms of how does it affect the ecology around us. We just take it for granted. You have a cement factory and we take it for granted. We see cement on the ground, cement on the leaves. You see dust all over the place. And we haven't said, well, I know the importance of this factory to the people who live and work there because they earn a living. But at the same time, how can I ensure that the trees are taken care of around me? You know what I mean? Like, these are common sense questions that nobody asks. And sometimes we are so quick for the early million or billion from the industry we forget to ask these questions, or we choose not to ask these questions. And I think as playwrights, as culture ambassadors, we should make people ask these questions. And so you young people, ask the questions, man, and start the conversation in your school, start the conversation within your community, start your conversation among your peers, then share it with us at Playwrights Workshop Trinbago. Share it with us, your ideas in terms of how you're going to look at the environment, the issues that affect you, and send those scripts in. We will read them. We will afford you a platform where your stories and your ideas are taken seriously, and then we will mount them. And we don't need to mount them just at Sapa or Napa. We can do something at you know, the botanical gardens, in environments where these things should be happening. Theater happens around us. I think it was Errol John who was talking about when we look at our theater in the Caribbean, and especially Trinidad and Tobago, it shouldn't be held in a space that is westernized, because most of our celebration happens outdoors. All, if you think of it, Carnival, Diwali, everything happens outdoors.
It's outside,
It's outside, and therefore our theater should have a practical application in terms of that, in terms of what does the theater of Trinidad and Tobago look like? What does the theater of the Caribbean look like? It is not indoors, although it's great to have these wonderful venues, right, that you can see the 1800 and show off to the rest of the world that you think you have the Sydney Opera House. Well, we have Napa. You know what I mean? You think you know, so on a different level, it brings a certain amount of pride and prestige to us as a people. But at the same time, at the roots, at the core, theater should happen everywhere, on the street, in the gardens, around your swimming pool, in your house. Invite 10, 12 people to come and see your piece being produced in an environment that is not normally associated with being a theatrical venue at all. This last weekend at Napa, we did something quite different. So I know it's not off topic, but I think it helps our viewers to look at the possibility. We did a short play festival on the stage of Napa. So the audience, in fact, were on stage. Now, I love, for me as a director, I love the thrust stage where you have seating on three sides and your audience is, and your actors happens within that space, right? Because the audience is so close to you, they feel the emotion, they see what's happening, they can hear the intensity, and they're a part of the action. And that works so beautifully at Napa. Another person who wanted to rent the venue said, oh my God, can I do my event like that? Because the actors and the audience were so close together that when you looked into their eyes, you could feel as if they were talking to you, you know? And so in terms of that, it was absolutely beautiful. So when we look at conservation, we should think, what format can I use? So don't be limited by thinking it has to be on a big stage. It could be everywhere. Because as artists, you're trying to build an audience for yourself, an audience, a voice. You want people to listen to your voice. What is that voice saying? That voice is saying that within the botanical gardens, it's a safe place. So therefore, you can do things in there. You know what I mean? You can go anywhere and create a piece of theater that's meaningful, that's vibrant, and that's relevant to Trinidad and Tobago.
And you mentioned the conservation aspect of it. So how do you balance it? And even better, for the young ones looking on, how would they go about balancing entertainment, but also keeping in mind that they want to deliver a strong conservation message?
Okay. So, I mean, the first thing is a personal, what is your personal manifesto? So, you know, now we have water bottles. I mean, when plastic bottles came out for selling water, I was the first one to go, but what are you doing, boy? Water free? And you asking me to pay money to a bottle of water? So now on many movie locations, instead of having the plastic bottles, they ask you, please bring your own container, you know, like those metal things that people have now, those metal bottles, I don't know whatever you call them. So that at least we're not using so much plastic, putting it back into the environment. So what is your personal way of cutting things back. What do you do with your recycling? What do you do with your garbage? Where I live, there's a wonderful project where, you know, all our plastics, we put them in a one of those recyclable bags, and they pick up all the bottles and plastics and stuff, right?
Right.
So we, at least in that environment, it's going back to somewhere where it can be recycled.
Yes.
As a writer, you're going, and again, this is where Playwrights Workshop will help you. You want to do something about the environment, and you have characters. You have Mama Glow, who might be the person that you have offended by how you've treated our rivers and streams. And then we would go, okay, what's that initial conflict? What's the conflict? What's that initial action that happened that drives the whole piece? What are the events that lead up to that confrontation with Mama Glow? And then how is it resolved? So we would help you in terms of the mapping out of the structure of the piece. What does that piece look like in terms visually, in terms of the costumes, in terms of the sets? If there are sets, you know, we'll help you answer all those questions. But the important thing is, how can you at the same time not be preaching us, hitting us over the head with the message of conservation, but how can you make it educational and entertaining at the same time? Because as a people, we've always dealt with our struggles in a rather humorous fashion. So it doesn't matter which play it is. And this is a problem that we saw in North America when we presented certain playwrights in North America and Canada. Critics couldn't understand how we as a people could laugh at the struggles. You know, you have a drug problem, and you have people outside waiting to shoot you and kill you, and then you have this Rastafarian father who is arguing with his son, and then people laughing, right? But that's how we've dealt with stuff. We've dealt with slavery. We've dealt with indentureship. We've dealt with not having all the things that we need to have to survive. And we've laughed through it. Our Calypsonians use that double entendre in terms of dealing with a number of things. So we can laugh about things, we can sing about things, but at the same time, you know that Gina and Dinah, I mean, as a young kid, I thought it was really funny. Gina and Dinah, Rosita and Clementina, around the corner posing. Bet your life is something they're selling. Now, we didn't know what it was they're selling at the time when we heard it. As you grow up and the song sticks with you, you realize, oh my God, you had a whole location, Caranage, and that whole area just to satisfy the whims and fancies of Americans who were on the base. In Wallafield, it was the same thing. You had whole communities coming up just to satisfy the needs of those people. And not just sexual needs, but other needs. But you realize now that these four characters, and they were composite characters, they were no real Gina and Dinah. They were meant to represent all the women who had to service these American people. And then you go, oh my God, that was a really entertaining way of dealing with something. But it takes you a time and a process for you, the Trinidadian, to understand that it's not just an easy song to sing. It should be something that you go, oh my God, my daughters, the women of Trinidad and Tobago suffered a huge injustice, and we allowed that to happen. And so when other people are writing today, and they look at the way we look at language, the way we use language, therefore in everything that we are writing about, we have that ability to make you laugh and then make you think about what it is we're saying.
Now, you touched on it a bit while you were talking, and even mentioned from last week with, you know, having that short film festival. What is the process, or even some of the challenges that comes with creating plays like this?
Well, I think the number one question in the minds of every playwright is, who is going to do it? When I write this, how is it going to be produced? Now, I think that might be a new thing. When I was growing up in Trinidad and Tobago, we worked and then we did theater in the evenings, right? So it was a hobby. And so we always knew there was going to be a market because we ourselves had a passion for the stories that we were telling. Today, it costs a lot more money to get anything done. And because our actors, you know, we are sort of, in this country, it's kind of like, for me, it's a sort of a semi-professional thing. I'm a professional actor in Toronto, in Canada, in North America. I've made my living by doing what I love.
Yeah.
So it hasn't really felt like work. But here it's semi-professional, so you're paid a certain amount of money, but it means then that producers have to pay you when they have a play.
Yes.
Unless it's a community project or it's a Best Village thing where you already have an organization and a structure in place to help you. So that's the first question. Who is going to do it? How is it going to get done? I think, and I hope a lot of people who are watching your program, including our government ministers who are in charge of all these wonderful community development and culture, et cetera, could value how we look at the problems that are facing us within this particular section of Trinidad and Tobago, and how we can help lend a hand in grants. You know, there's a good example in Toronto. You can get a grant if you live in Ontario from the municipal, from the local government, and from the provincial government.
Yeah.
Right? And especially if those issues are like the ones we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Because those are really important issues.
They are.
And therefore you have funding for particular things. So I know that Best Village, they're having a short film competition that's open up. Maybe some of our people can kind of go, okay, this morning I have been touched by the problems facing wildlife. Maybe my short film is going to be based on that. And therefore, the more venues that you get your message heard, it's the more people are going to go, oh yeah, I didn't realize you have a problem. I didn't realize people still kill turtles when nobody's looking, or try to steal all the eggs and do stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right now we know that we have a great program at Grand Riviere in terms of turtles nestling and getting out back to sea, right? So those are really good stories, but I still remember back, but this was a long time ago before this became such an important part of our culture.
Yeah.
People saying, yeah, when my Arab boy and I kill a turtle, you want a piece?
Oh boy.
Because that was the thing.
Yeah.
We were just so thinking about ourselves. But I think we are living in a world now where we can't just think of me.
Me, yeah.
You have to think about me and everybody else that surround me. Community becomes more important, and how we relate to community. And that community is not just people, it's the wildlife.
Right. And you touched on it a bit, so just to say it again for the viewers looking on what's next for the workshop and what, or any upcoming productions or expansions that you have in mind. So like the Writers' Challenge that you put out for the school students, just to reiterate and touch on that again.
Yes, okay. So, so here it is. There's a challenge out. In fact, we're going to up the price. Right, I'm going to tell Safa. So for first prize, we'll give $1,000 for the script and $500 for the second script. Now that's just a token. It's an honorarium to tell you that you are worthy and that your stories are important. So start writing about the environment. Start writing about issues that affect you. Send them to Playwrights Workshop TT. Send it. Is on Instagram, it's on Facebook, or at gmail.com. Send those scripts. We will read them. We will announce the winners. We will do a series of readings. Now, those readings happen normally once a month, the first Wednesday of every month. So we will do those readings. People will know when they're happening. We'll invite the media. We'll invite some coverage. We'll invite peers so that people who are in the business would be able to be present, to hear your stories, to give you the support that we think you need. And then we'll see how those scripts move from where they are in terms of when we receive them to when we actually work on them and then present them to a national audience.
Yeah. Marvin, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation this morning. It's really a great reminder that short story or storytelling, no matter how short, still has the power to challenge perspective and inspire change in these circumstances. So thank you so much for being a part of this.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a pleasure being here this morning and chatting about things that are really important to us as a people.
Yes, it is. As we wrap up this morning's program, we really hope that today inspired you. It made you think on new things that you didn't even think on or ventured on thinking on before. And like I always say, stay informed, stay safe, stay positive. Up next, we do have Sean Michael Smalls at 8 with Talking Points, so don't go far. And I'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye.
WESN.
If these walls could talk, they'd cry uncle. They didn't plan to become offices or yoga studios, but they've stood by us, even when we got a little stir-crazy. For that, they deserve some thanks. They deserve Benjamin Moore.
Are you driven, ambitious, and ready to earn? WESN, the